welcome to this tactical analysis of the North London derby. We're going to have a look at Tottenham's 2-4 deep build-up, their counter-attacks, and their 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 press. For Arsenal, we're going to have a look at their 2-4 deep build-up, as well as also their 2-3 or 3-1 midfield shape, and their 4-1-3-2 or 4-4-2 press. Before we get into the tactics, if you're enjoying the video, please consider giving the video a like, sharing on social media, maybe subscribing. And with that, let's get into it. Starting in the 14th minute, I wanted to show this scenario of Arsenal pressing in a 4-1-3-2 versus the 2-4 deep build-up, because Tottenham struggle to build up deep, often resorting to lobbed passes over the Arsenal press, with Harrop especially struggling, with her having the highest number of clearances in the game. Of course, it's not entirely Harrop's fault, as passing is a team skill. It's all about both the receiver, or the possible receivers, and also the passer. And so we've got the two set up at the back. We've got four Nevilles coming inside, having been pressed inside, and Sumanen and James are trying to provide an option. They do try and vary this later in the game with Drew Spence. She'll become a centre midfielder, but alternatively you can have just James as like the anchoring centre defensive midfielder, with Sumanen pushing higher up, just as she did in the Leicester game, allowing Spence and Sumanen to essentially play as number 8. Note here, Chelin, who's dropped deeper to try and provide a short option. Just note that the fullbacks will typically follow, so on this side McCabe will try and be aggressive if Chelin is looking to receive. Note also Little being a bit deeper here, with Walty higher. So the 4-1-3-2, a bit like that, with Little as the anchor rather than Volti. Tottenham are able to maintain possession and go down their left-hand side instead. Unfortunately, it's a poor pass here by Korpela, which puts Harrop under pressure, inevitably leading to Arsenal regaining possession. From a previous combination and Arsenal's throw-in, Blackstenius is able to have a shot, but Tottenham then quickly set up again with the 4-1-3-2, although the 2-3 build-up by Tottenham now has Drew Spence deeper, and she's able to break through that first line of pressure. Unfortunately for Tottenham, combination again on this right-hand side breaks down. This allows Arsenal to be able to regain possession from their successful counter-press. These build-up difficulties may be why Tottenham choose to play long into Drew Spence over the Arsenal press. Moving on to the 17th minute, we've got Arsenal building up against a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-1-2. Basically, Arsenal have a relatively flexible deep build-up shape where they have their centre-backs split really wide, but then you can have one of your centre midfielders, so in this case Little, drop into a fullback position, allowing your actual fullbacks in McCabe and Moritz or Voinoric to be able to push really high up in those wide spaces, with the other centre defensive midfielder dropping between the centre forwards, which then allows Arsenal's back three to be able to outnumber those two, forcing one of the centre midfielders for Tottenham to push higher up. This then has a knock-on effect, because, for example, if James pushes higher up, then Sumanen, yes, she's flanked by her wide midfielders, but they have to tuck in narrow, leaving more space for those fullbacks who are benefiting from the fact that the Arsenal forwards have tucked inside. And so we see here James pushing up to try and put some pressure here on Volti. Another thing to mention is that in behind this pressure from James, the defence of Tottenham has to be more aggressive when the likes of Marnham or Blackstenius look to drop into those spaces between the lines. James was able to somewhat force Arsenal into playing out towards this right-hand side, where Little plays a lobbed ball over Palova, who's dropped into Blackstenius in this right-hand side channel. Blackstenius, who's being pressured here by both a centre midfielder and a centre-back. Fortunately, on this occasion, Turner is able to win back possession for Tottenham and start a counter-attack, but that wasn't always the case, which on a number of occasions allowed Arsenal to start their own counter-attack and exploit this space left by one of the Tottenham defenders. Unfortunately for Tottenham, due to a combination of pressure here, but then also a poor touch by Chelin, Tottenham are forced to retreat. They are able to play the ball out towards their left-hand side, but the ball ends up with Harrop, and again, she's not really being helped here by any of her teammates, and so inevitably Harrop ends up surrounded and Arsenal win back possession. Moving on to the 27th minute, we've got Arsenal set up in this 3-1 shape, Volti dropping to become that central centre-back versus Tottenham's attempt at a 4-4-2, but again, we've got now Sumanen, one of the centre midfielders, looking to try and push out because of Walty. Unfortunately, with England and Spence as high as they were, and Sumanen not really close enough to Walty to be able to stop her. She's able to fire a ball through the lines into the free little between the lines. And then from there, Arsenal's fullbacks in those high positions are able to exploit the fact that the Tottenham fullbacks have been forced to stay narrow by the narrow positions of the Arsenal wide midfielders, eventually leading to Moritz being able to whip a dangerous cross into the Tottenham box unopposed. Okay, moving on to the 31st minute. This is a nice example of Arsenal's counter-attacks. So we've got a throw-in from Tottenham here. James's pass into Sumanen is good, and she's immediately pressurized, which somewhat forces her into making this poor pass back into James, which allows Walter to get a foot in. And from there, we've got Marnham in the hole, and the other forwards are already narrow because this was a throw-in. And so in this perfect position, Arsenal are able to counter-attack. And unlike Tottenham's counter-attack, Arsenal are in an exceptionally advantageous position during their counter-attack, where A, they're not expecting their centre forward to outpace numerous defenders, where in the case of England, she's not that quick. And then B, the passer doesn't have to play an eye of the needle pass due to that speed difference. Marnham is able to use her intelligence, her technical ability, and her hard work here higher up the pitch to be able to play this early through ball for Pullover, allowing Pullover to have basically a one-on-one. I thought it'd be nice to juxtapose the Arsenal counter-attack versus a Tottenham counter-attack. So we have one here in the 37th minute where they force a transition after beating Arsenal's press. Here with a couple of nice passes to the right side of each one of these receivers, eventually leading to Chellian having the ball here. But despite the fact that we have Ayan, the left winger, coming inside and potentially overloading this right-hand side of the pitch, Chellian decides to play an early ball for Bethany England in behind, rather than having Ayan run into the wide channel as McCabe is drawn towards Chellian to try and build up from a deeper position in Arsenal's offensive third. Fortunately for Tottenham, Bethany England is able to battle to get back possession from the long ball, and from the ensuing Arsenal clearance, Tottenham win a penalty kick, which England puts away. Okay, so next I wanted to have a quick look at this scenario in the 71st minute, just because we have a drop in aggression from Arsenal and a couple of positional tweaks, what with Williamson pushed into midfield and Drew Spence dropped into centre midfield. Note here also, the back four of Tottenham against a forward line of five. Also at this point with Kit Graham on, then she's meant to partner with Bethany England for the potential counterattacks rather than necessarily Drew Spence. The ball was passed out here to Reuter, who's overlapped on this right-hand side, and instead of pushing really high up on this left-hand side, has pulled into more of a left CDM position, more of a counter-pressing position to partner with the likes of Williamson and Little in the centre midfield. This eventually leads to the ball being pulled back into Pullover, who plays a deep cross from the right-hand side. And then lastly, I just wanted to have a look at the 3-2 shape being used by Arsenal here in the 61st minute and the pressures it put on the midfield of Tottenham, in this case Chellian, the right midfielder, to try and push out and pressure McCabe. On this occasion, Tottenham are able to force Arsenal to retreat to their goalkeeper, but Spence and England aren't able to coordinate their positions well enough to cover the pass back into Ruben Moy. And then whilst Spence did try and get back and put pressure on Ruben Moy to support the other midfielders looking to pressure, she had sufficient time and technical ability to just skip the ball through the gap that they left for her and get Walty into a dangerous position beyond that pressure. And then from there, here we go again with Marnham, with her vision, her technical ability, etc., orchestrating yet another Arsenal counter-attack. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please consider sharing it on social media, subscribing, giving it a like, and with that, we're out.